Well,
Anyway, I wound.
I'm sure there was so much happening that day that it kind of took a few days for you to, you know, what is it? Gather your thoughts about just everything that happened, right?
Well, plus it was 4 years ago now.
That
So
too.
at court,
Yeah.
it was like 3.5, 2.5, 3 years ago. It's like I can't even remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday.
Right.
So but
So the
yeah,
doors open, the crowd starts getting through. What do you do then? Like once you get out of the crowd, you can breathe again. Where do you go?
well, I took a left and went up the stairs. I thought if I hadn't have seen that, I would have told you that I took a right and walked down and find somewhere to pray. But that's not what happened. I took a left and went up and went down a hallway. And you've seen the fight scene where these cops, like these dudes are like bucking up on the cops and the cops wind up retreating and go down the stairs. When I saw them, I thought, I had a feeling like these cops aren't happy about getting pushed back. And these dudes looked like they were ready to fight. And
Yeah.
so I yelled at them. I said, we will not stand down. So I was like, well, that'll hopefully give them time to, you know, like go get some help. Because if they can't, because the dude that was looking at, like, there was 2 or 3 dudes that were like ready to throw dukes. They were ready to fight, and I could tell. Like I wasn't always a Christian, so I could tell,
Yeah.
and so I yelled at them to. I was kind of threatening them, I guess, but I was like, I was doing it so they wouldn't come back. Like I didn't want them, because if they'd have come back with just them two, it could have been bad. And these dudes, there was like 15 dudes, and there was 2 or 3 in the front. And
Just to clarify, who were you yelling at? You're yelling at the guys, not the cops, right?
The cops when they
You were
went
yelling
down
at
the
the
stairs.
cops. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I said, "We will not stand down. We will not stand down."
hmm.
Like, and I'd forgotten about that completely. They showed me the video of it, and I was like, "That ain't me."
So
He's
they
like,
had
"Are you
video of
sure?"
that, but they didn't have video of you at the door.
But
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, of
but
course
I'd forgotten all about it.
you'd have
The
video
first
in the
time I
hallway
saw it,
upstairs. You wouldn't have video on the door, of course. That makes sense.
well, the first time I saw that video was in court, and I was shocked. I was like, "What?" I thought this is fabulous, like, because I had completely forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Like completely. So, I mean,
I don't know.
anyway,
Do you know if it was real? It could have been AI. I mean,
I honestly don't know. I don't remember doing it, but I remember I saw the video, and so
yeah.
I'm assuming I did, because that's what I mean. That's the only way I would have done that. Like, because I know me, I know how I am, I know how. Like, I'm pretty consistent. I'm not going to treat you one way and treat him a different way. Like I'm usually pretty consistent. And if that was true, then the only reason I would have done that would have been to keep them from fighting. Because Jesus said, "Blessed are the peacemakers." So if you can make peace, do it.
Yep.
Not at all cost, but I mean, if them cops had been beating some dude on the ground, I would have fought the police.
Right.
And if a dude had been beating the cop on the ground, I would have fought the dude.
Right.
So it was about groups. It was about,
Just
it's like somebody's
like you
beating
said,
up a
keeping the
woman.
peace. You're just trying to keep the peace.
Right. Now, if it's a fair fight, 2 guys throwing dukes, I'm not getting involved. Y'all finish, But
Yeah.
if one guy wins and then starts stomping on his head, well, I'm going to break it up.
Yeah, now you've got an issue.
You got to have rules. You got to know what you're going to do before you know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
anyway,
Sorry, I was just going to make one point. I think that's one of the biggest things we see in society today is that no one has any respect for one another. People get into fights and they're not just satisfied with winning the fight. They have to end you. So it's really scary nowadays. That's why I tell people all the time, don't get in fights. It's not worth it because you don't know how far that other person's willing to go.
Right.
But anyway, you were saying, so you're yelling at these cops to stand down. You saw the video in court. Where do you kind of go from there?
Well, I don't know exactly how I got from there to where I found a little spot. It said Senate entrance or U.S. Senate or something like that. And I opened the door, but it was locked. And I was like, I need to get in there. That's what, like, I knew I needed to be in there. And I was like, well, I'm going to break the window. And God said, no. And it was like, it scared me because I was like, oh, because I was like ready to like, I mean, I'd had a rough day, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I just knew I needed to get in the Senate, but I was like, I'm going to break the window. And God like yelled at me basically. Cause I was like, I could just take my knife out and smash the window and like open the door. This will be no problem. But
you
like before I could
be wrong. You knew that wasn't the right way.
Well, I didn't know it was wrong, but God was like, don't do that, Yeah. And I was like, like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I had no plan at all. And I was like, I wanted to pray. I wanted to plead the blood of Jesus on the Senate floor. And I figured I'm at the door. This is close enough. So I got down on my knees and started, and nobody's around. It was a little bitty hallway. There's a little stairway right there. And so I'm down there and I'm praying, and it was like I could feel the fire of God. And it was it brought tears to my eye. It was so powerful. It was like I could feel his presence. I could feel his love. And I was like enjoying it. Like I loved, the Bible says in the presence of the Lord is fullness of joy. And I was like maxed out. This was like, this is amazing. Like I love the presence of God. And I was just like, I mean, I was crying. Like it was a powerful moment. And then I was sitting there, and all of a sudden these dudes come around there, blankety blank, blank, blank. And I was like, and that just like killed the buzz, you know? So I was like, so I stood up and I was like, cause I didn't want to be down on my knees with all these, like, cause there's some crazy people there that day. So I stood up and I'm like, what do I do now? You know? Yeah. And then soon as I thought, what do I do now? Some dude says, hey, here's the door to the Senate and it's open. And I was like, I need to get in there. So as soon as I walked in the door, it was a little bit congested. There was 3 to 8 people there. It was like, it's hard to remember exactly, but it was kind of congested at the door. So as I walk in, the group of people kind of like split out like that a little bit. And there was these 2 or 3 dudes that were knocking tables and chairs over. And these desks are like early 1800 school desks. Yeah. They're tiny. You wouldn't think, like a fat guy could not sit there. Like these were made for people my size from like the 1700s or whatever. Right. You know, but it was the room was incredibly small. It shocked me. I was expecting that thing to be like a humongous, you know, but I'm thinking, how do they fit 100 people in here, you know? But anyway, he starts knocking the tables and the chairs over, or the desks. They're like school desks, basically. So he starts knocking them over, and he grabs a folder off the top and flings it up in the air, and papers go everywhere. And I said, whoa, wait a minute, dude. I said, you were just saying whose house, our house. Stop tearing up my house. And of course, I'm bleeding from the face, and I look like scary looking, you know. And I think that's why people, when I said something, they usually did what I said, because like I was like, whoa, this guy ain't playing.
Oh, yeah, they look at the big hole in your face and they're like, all right, don't mess with him. He's not playing.
Right. So there was 3 of them, and the one in the middle looks back and forth like this, and they look at each other, and they had that, I don't know what, like, you know, I wish my camera was zoomed out a little bit more, but they were like, I can't get it in the screen. Sorry. But
no, I can see your hands. I can see your hands.
But they were like back and forth, like, what do we do now? Like, I don't know. Like, that's what it, like, I don't know.
They didn't expect to get called out.
Yeah, because they had momentum when they went in. They were like, F this place, knocking tables over. Yeah, let's burn it to the ground. You know, and I said, whoa. You just said whose house? My house. Well, if it's my house, stop tearing up my house. I said, do you treat your house like this? And they're like, oh, well, they don't.
Well, some of them might, so.
But, so they're looking back and forth to each other for a minute. They're like, it looked to me at that moment, I was like, that stuck out to me, because I was like, these people came in here with a plan.
Yeah. Like
they look back at each other like, well, what do we do now? They didn't say that out loud, but they said it pretty loud. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to be a very intelligent person to be able to read that of what they were saying.
Yeah.
Because you know how like when you talk to your wife, you don't have to use words. You can just give her that look and she knows exactly what you're saying. It was that kind of thing, you know, like you could tell what they were saying.
But, I'm not married, but I do have a long-term girlfriend, so I do know what you're talking about to some extent.
But it was, well, you know, there's nonverbal communication. Yes, you know, you can convey a message to somebody that you know very well, and they know what, you know what I'm saying? It was that kind of thing. And they didn't say, hey, what do we do now? But that's what their nonverbal communication, their face was saying, hey.
That was one of the worst things during COVID, me personally, not being able to read the expression on people's faces. For me, it's integral to having communication with someone. That's why when you were asking if I wanted you on video, yes, of course I want you on video. I want to be able to see your facial expressions. I want to be able to see how you're reacting to things. I want to see how you're reacting to how I'm talking. And I feel like that really hurt a lot of the younger kids that didn't have time to develop those, you know, social skills. And here they are, they're seeing people with masks, and now they have hard times reading social cues. So it's definitely, you can definitely read someone's face.
Right.
It's very important. So you tell these guys to knock it off. Basically, they look at themselves, look at each other, and they're like, "Well, what do we do?" So what do they do? Where do they go?
That's my last memory of them, because the New Yorker did an article and said that after about 10 minutes they left.
Okay.
That's the last time I don't know what happened after that because everybody looked basically the same, you know.
It sounds like they were just there to agitate if they're only there for another 10 minutes.
Well, the guy, there's an article in the New Yorker that he said that there were two types of people there, some that wanted to do damage and some who didn't. And these people realized that they couldn't do damage and they got mad and left or something like that. That's not verbatim at all, but it's, I took a screenshot because I figured it might get taken down. But
yeah.
But that's what the article said, that they, after about 10 minutes, they got, that they dipped, went somewhere else. But then I looked up and somebody was sitting in the president of the Senate's chair. And I was like, look, man, look, we can't be doing this. We can't disrespect this place. Like,
yeah,
you know, and I really wanted to sit in that chair. Like, really wanted to sit in that chair. But I was like, no, you can't. I said, people that sit in that chair, you have to be a representative. You have to be elected to that place. That's like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, they stole the effing election. I said, I know, man. I said, but I said we're a democracy, but I meant that in the we vote for this kind of things.
Yeah.
So people want to know, well, it's not a democracy, it's a republic. I know it's a republic. But
yeah.
it's democratically elected republic, you know. But
well, I really like one of the statements you said in regarding that exact situation on I forget exactly which interview it was, but you said, I do not respect the people that sit in that chair, but I respect what that position represents. Which
right.
I completely agree.
I'm pretty sure I told that guy that or something similar to that. And then he was like, and then there's a guy, Larry Brock Jr., the guy that had the zip ties that he found on the ground, got in big trouble for that. He was in there and he's like big as a house, you know. So I'm 5'6", 135 pounds at the time. You know, I'm not intimidating anybody, you know. And he walks in and is like, yeah, you need to get out of that chair. Don't be disrespectful. And they were like, yes, sir. Right away, sir. You know, so they got up and then somebody else got in it. And then he was like, once he was there, he was like he was doing what I was trying to do. And he was doing it very successfully. And the adrenaline had all run out. And I was like, I had to sit down. And my dad, like I called my dad because I could call him on the phone. And within 30 seconds, he'll say, hey, your blood sugar's low. He could just tell by talking to me. So I needed to check it. So I just called him. I was like, and I said, hey, how you doing? He's like, oh, you know, I said, well, you're not going to believe where I am. I'm on the Senate floor. Cause I was sitting down on the floor and he was like, oh, you might want to get out of there. They're setting y'all up. And I said, all right. But I said, I just want to check. I said, how does my sugar sound? He goes, you sound okay, but you need to get out of there. Like,
yeah.
All right. You know, and then the Jake Chansley guy walks in and he's like, no, you know, and then the cop comes over and he's like, hey, are you okay? I was like, yeah, man, I'll be all right. You know, He's like, well, I really appreciate it if y'all would leave. Y'all, it'd be nice if y'all got out of here. And I said, look, man, I'm just trying to make sure they don't wreck the place. I said, as soon as you get some backup, I didn't say that, but that's kind of what I wish I'd have said that, but you know, that was the
thought you were having. You were like, I want to protect this place. There was, because at the time were there any officers in the room, or was that the only one?
The only one, and he was my size, and and he was behaving like he was outnumbered, you know, and I could tell it's like there's no way he could have made me leave, right. And I knew that, and I did kind of take advantage of that, but I was like, I'm your backup, you know, like I'm not going to let them trash the place, like. Yeah. That was kind of what I was thinking, but you know, I got in trouble for that too, because I was asked to leave and I didn't.
Right.
You know, he didn't tell me. If he said, get out now, I'm a cop, I'm telling you to get out now, I'd have said, all right, fine. Good luck, man.
Yeah, I think it's the way he, like, I get why he asked that way. Cause obviously he's outnumbered. Like you said, he's trying to have a good interaction and de-escalate, but he should have demanded that you leave. That is true.
Well, it wasn't long after that. I think they said I was in the Senate about 20, 22 minutes, something like that. And then when his backup showed up, it was a bunch of big, huge, like, you don't want to mess with these guys kind of cops, you know?
Yeah.
And they all walked in with all the plastic riot gear and stuff. And they lined up like on one side of the walkway to get out the door. And I was like, all right, y'all, it's time to go. And everybody was like, all right, well, I guess it's over. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And we all walked out and we're like, hey, thank you for your service. We back to blue. Like every single person that walked out of there was like thanking the cops. Yeah. It was weird. Like, and of course you never saw any video of that, you know? So,
I have seen videos of them going on tour with the cops, though.
Well, they were being super respectful. Like, it was like, you know,
well, for the amount of people, there wasn't as much damage as you would have thought for a riot, right? Like, there was minimal damage. I mean, there was a lot of broken windows and stuff like that, but for the amount of people and for like how far you guys got into the Capitol, you would have expected a lot more damage, especially in my opinion, completely my opinion. If it was the other political party, if it was a left-leaning protest, I feel like there would have been a lot more damage had a similar situation happened.
Well, 1983, leftists bombed the Congress.
Well, there's also May 25th where they firebombed the White House and they set fire to the building next to St. John's Church. You know, Donald Trump went into the bunker and they made fun of him for going into the bunker, even though the White House grounds were being firebombed.
Bunker baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was the 29th.
I believe it's May 20th. It might have been the 29th. I think the protest went on for a few days, so we might both be right on that.
Right.
So,
but yeah, Tim Pool talks about that all the time, and I brought that up to my lawyer, and he had no idea what I was talking about. And he works in.
I don't know if there was any charges related to that incident.
Well, what's funny is about 60 people got arrested, and they filed a couple of people pleaded out before it was over with, so they didn't get off of their charges, and they were like misdemeanors, you know. But like, they got like $60 million split up between them because the cops shot like little bitty rubber balls at them, and it didn't hurt anybody, but the cops used a show of force before they had like the same lawsuit that we're going to do, whatever lawsuit, because you're supposed to have an amplification device and give 3 warnings and like, you need to leave this way. There's like a rules about it. And because the Antifa people, the cops broke the law, they were talking on the news about how evil the cops were, and they wound up getting like $60 million split up between them.
I heard about that. So,
yeah. Crazy. So basically, that's crazy.
Where's your 60 million? Where's yours?
Right.
Before I forget, that's exactly what I wanted to ask too. Before we carry on down the rest of the story of that day, I'm sure I already know the answer, but were there any repercussions for that cop that shot you? Do you even know who it was?
They showed there was a guy standing right beside him with a camera, and they showed but I couldn't pick him out of a lineup. I don't know.
So you don't know his name or anything, and as far as you know, nothing happened to him, right? In regards to that,
he probably got promoted.
Probably got, right. No, you're probably
right. Killed a woman, and he got promoted. And that girl that female cop that beat Roseanne Boylan to death while she was unconscious on the ground, she got promoted.
That's insane.
So, yeah, you kill Christians or Trump supporters, you get promoted.
Yeah, and if you do anything to leftists, they demote you or put you on leave permanently.
Or worse.
Or worse, yeah. I mean, I was gonna bring up Derek Chauvin, but that's a whole other thing. Yeah,
I watched that because when I was in DC, I had a tablet, and I was watching it because I thought if they ever send me to Gen Pop and Derek Chauvin don't get convicted, I might want to just stay in solitary. Because I was like, it was really concerning to me because like they were like, that's a whole nother story, but that dude did not get justice at all.
Yeah.
Like they voted him. Because I heard somebody cut a pig's head off and put it on one of his properties on the post of his property and said, if you don't convict him, this is going to be you.
I hadn't heard about that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard about it since it happened, but it was right there.
Well, they don't want any sympathy for Derek Chauvin. They just want him to be the bad guy, and they don't want to talk about anything in relation to George Floyd or the drugs that were in his system or anything like that.
Yeah,
but we could, like you said, we could do a whole nother show about that. So, but so you're in the Senate chamber. The big guys come in, and you're like, all right, that's it, time to go. Where do you kind of go from there?
That was pretty much the end of it. I walked. They escorted us basically and said, "Go here." And there was a cop at each like turn. Go here, and there was no violence. There was no like everybody was just walking single file like we were going to the lunchroom at school kind of thing. It was just So we walk out. We get outside, and it was like it went from being hot to being cold, you know. So
yeah.
I got out and I'm like, well, I guess that's it. What do I do now? So I went to the other side, and people kept talking to me, and actually I got interviewed inside of those trailers because I was actually going in there because I was cold, and people just wouldn't leave me alone. Like I couldn't walk anywhere without people, and I was trying to pray, you know, and everybody just like nobody. I could not be left. Everybody just constantly coming up to me and saying stuff. I actually got rude with one guy, and I felt bad about it, but I was like, I'm okay, you know. It was like, but there was like 9 people inside of like 2 minutes. Like,
I was like, you hear the same question 50 times in the span of like an hour or two. You're gonna get a little annoyed. I
needed a hat that says I do not need medical.
Yeah,
you know.
You're like, I am fine, go away.
Right. But I mean, people were concerned. It was gruesome. I mean, it was like, if you see the pictures, it's like, my wife posted on Twitter. She was like, somebody said that, oh, you didn't really get shot. And she's like, oh, I can vouch for him. She's like, it looks a lot better now because you can't see his teeth through the side of his face or something like that. You know?
Right.
It's like, yeah, you could see teeth from outside. Like,
yeah, I saw someone you replied to on Twitter saying like the way you got shot, it looked like it didn't even hit you that hard or something like that, and you're like, oh yeah, sure.
I've got X-ray pictures. You know?
No, I saw you share I saw you were sharing the X-ray pictures to some of the people commenting on that. It's just funny that, like, regardless of how you feel about that day, because depending on which political party you ask, they'll say it was a mostly peaceful protest. If you ask Republicans, or if you ask Democrats, they'll say it's the worst insurrection, worst thing that's ever happened to the country. I kind of feel like it's a little bit more in between there. There was a lot of people, such as yourself, that were there just to be kind of a peacekeeper. They wanted to protest the election. Much like you, I feel like there was a lot of wrongdoing in the election in 2020, but ultimately Joe Biden did win. He ended up being president. So regardless of how you feel about what happened, he won at the end of the day, and it is what it is. But now it doesn't matter, right? You know, we have Trump coming into office, so hopefully he can improve things.